Good afternoon, Realtors. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nick Kromitis, and I'm the CEO of your South Carolina Association of Realtors. We're honored today to have Todd Timmons with us, and we thank him for his leadership at the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce while our state deals with this ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Todd is the Chief Legal Counsel at SCDEW and has served as part of the Judge Advocate General team, providing legal solutions to the 20th Fighter Wing at Shaw Air Force Base. Todd, thank you for your service to our country. Todd is going to give us a overview of the benefits available to realtors, specifically independent contractors, and then we'll have some time to answer a few questions at the end of his presentation. So without any further ado, Todd, please introduce yourself and jump right into your presentation. Tell us how independent contractors can get some help from SCDEW.
Yeah, hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for that, Nick. It's good to be with y'all. I did a presentation, I think it's been 2 weeks now, although the days are running together. It was called Unemployment for the Self-Employed, and we had to shut off registration when we got over 3,000 because the system that I was operating under couldn't handle anymore. So I hear we've got about 1,500 people on this one. So if you had told me before all this started that this many people would want to hear what I have to say about what I do for a living, I would have thought you were crazy. But these are interesting times. So some of y'all may have heard that other presentation, but this is going to be a little bit of what we talked about 2 weeks ago when we gave that webinar. But I got a lot more information to share with you now because the program is up and running. And so since it's quarantine mode and COVID-19, I'm going to start with some positive news instead of negative news, and that is that the program that everyone here is interested in, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, PUA, that's for our self-employed folks. That program kicked off on Friday, and it's been successful. So far, we've already paid out $4.6 million in benefits to folks under that program. So the good news is help is here, and as far as I can tell, it's been going off. I'm sure people have got some individual questions, but the program is operating as we hoped it would, and so we are very optimistic that relief will be headed your guys' way very soon if it hasn't already made it to you already. So let's go over a few things. I'm just going to give you a very broad overview so we understand where we are before I start talking about how the benefits are actually going to work. But there are 6 programs under the CARES Act. The ones that are going to affect you guys the most are the FPUC, which is the additional $600 added to state weekly benefit amount each week. And so what you would do there is you calculate what your weekly benefit amount is, and you add $600 on top of that. And that is what you're hearing a lot about in the news because unemployment benefits are much more generous than they normally would be as a result of this CARES Act program. The other one that you guys have all heard about is the one that I led off mentioning, is the PUA program. And people like me who get regular W-2 wages from their employer, our employers pay taxes on those wages and to our agency. And we take all that money from all the employers in the state and we put it in a trust fund. And then when people get laid off due to no fault of their own, we use that money to pay UI benefits out to these workers. Well, for those of you that are self-employed, you're not paying, in most cases, unless you've got an S corporation or something like that, you're not paying unemployment taxes on yourself. So when your business has a downturn, we don't have funds to pay. That, unfortunately, you're not a part of the system. You do pay taxes, and in turn, Uncle Sam gets their cut and the state gets their cut, but you don't pay unemployment insurance contributions to our agency like other companies do. And so, but Congress realized that, hey, we gotta find some benefit for these self-employed folks, for these gig workers who are not otherwise eligible for unemployment because they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't cause a pandemic. They didn't cause government to shut down business and to keep people from wanting to spend money to buy houses and buy cars and things like that. So what they decided to do was to step in and say, we're going to expand the unemployment insurance program to folks like yourselves, self-employed folks, gig workers, workers who don't have established work history, so that they can get benefits, so they can have access to the benefits that regular W-2 workers do. And so that's what PUA is. And you can, right, I think that's good. So you can go ahead and apply for these benefits on our website. If you applied already, if you applied before last Friday, you already have gotten a UI claim in our system, and you most likely have been denied benefits under state law because, as I mentioned, you don't have wages in our system, so we're not showing you as an insured worker. As of Friday, we started emailing everybody out and saying, okay, you indicated to us you were self-employed, so you should have gotten an email that says, hey, come back into the system and apply for PUA. And what that'll look like is a little link when you log in that says apply for pandemic unemployment assistance. Excuse me. If you click on that link, it'll take you through the application section specific to PUA. Don't worry, it's a lot shorter than the initial application you filled out, and it hopefully will be a little bit easier to deal with because it is tailored to our self-employed folks. So that's the biggest thing you can do, and the biggest takeaway is if you applied before last Friday, go ahead and go back in, fill out that PUA application. If you're going in now, if you haven't filed your claim yet, you'll do both of these at the same time. You'll go through a state unemployment application, which will sound a little weird because you don't have a W-2 employer in the system. But the first step in this program is to get denied unemployment, which sounds a little backwards, but this program is for people who are not eligible for regular state UI. So the first thing that our agency needs is, okay, a determination that you're not eligible for state UI. And at that point in time, we can roll you over into the federal PUA program, and you'll kick on. You'll get the weekly benefit amount, and you'll get the $600 FPUC, just like a regular state person would, but this is funded fully by the federal government, so it's got a different step to it. The next question is that everybody wants to know is how much will the benefits be? The way this will work is when you apply for the benefits, initially you will get the minimum amount, which is $131, and then you'll have 21 days to submit documentation of your earnings, and then at that point in time we would recalculate what your earnings are, recalculate what your weekly benefit amount is based on your earnings. And the maximum weekly benefit amount in South Carolina is $326. So even if we calculate your weekly earnings, and we take half of that, that's the general rule of how we calculate unemployment. Even if we take half of your weekly earnings and that number is more than 326, you're still going to be limited at 326 because that's the highest anybody can get. Of course, remember that $600 is going to be added to that from the period of now until July 31st because we've got the FPUC program. So keep in mind when I talk about the weekly benefit amount, I'm talking about the state amount, but you're always going to add $600. If you're eligible for $1 of state unemployment, you're going to get the $600 on top of that. So I know it's a little confusing, but I'm hoping I'm making sense. Of course, if you earn more than your weekly benefit amount, you are not going to be eligible for unemployment because you're not going to meet the definition of unemployed. So keep that in mind. I know some folks have second jobs, or some folks might be lucky enough to have a closing in a week. If you do and that amount equates to more than your weekly benefit amount, you will not be eligible for unemployment. And so you would not receive any state money or any federal money in that particular week because you've got earnings, and then you're not meeting the definition of unemployed. The other question that I get quite a bit is the documents that you're going to need to substantiate your earnings. For most of us, that's going to be a tax return, probably 2019. That's going to be the best document that shows I'm not a tax guy, but I'm told, I think Schedule C might be the ones you guys file on. But anyways, whatever schedule would show your earnings for 2019. But we can take other documents if you don't have the prior year's income tax return. Things like paycheck stubs, bank receipts, your business records, business bank statements, anything that would show documentation of what you've earned is going to be okay. So that's the sort of things you would submit. But the way the process goes is you would initially submit your claim, and if you're eligible, you'll get that minimum amount, and then when you submit documentation, we'll recalculate your weekly benefit amount and change it if your earnings show higher than the minimum. The next question is that I get a lot is the eligibility period. So what period of time is this program going to be open? So the key thing to always keep in mind is that benefits are only available during periods of time where you're not earning anything as a direct result of COVID-19. So the easy example is someone who's quarantined. So let's say you're quarantined because you've had a direct exposure to COVID-19. You would be eligible for PUA. However, you're only going to be eligible for that 14-day period where you're quarantined. If the quarantine is lifted and you can go back to work, then you're no longer going to be eligible. Now, we'll talk about, with you folks, it's a little bit different because I'm guessing what you're experiencing is no one's buying houses right now. We'll get to that example, but if business picks back up, or if you're having closings, then you're not going to be eligible for unemployment, because it really is only people who are not working and not receiving income as a direct result of COVID-19. So whenever that clears up, then the eligibility for unemployment insurance will go away. But in terms of the period that's in question, this program runs from the week ending February 8th to the week ending December 26th. And then during that window, claimants are limited to 39 weeks total. Like I said, I'm hoping that most people are not experiencing 39 weeks of this, that either we're all going to be back to some level of an economy in a few months, or either it hit some of us later than others, and we're not experiencing a full 39 weeks of this. But that is the window. The 39 weeks within that February to December window is kind of what you're looking at. And so if you're filing now, you may have had a loss of income prior to this, and that's okay. We can backdate the claim to say, okay, Todd filed his claim at the end of April, but he experienced the loss at the beginning of April. So you will be asked in the application process, when was the first time you experienced or you stopped working as a result of COVID-19? So you're able to say earlier in the process. Now, I will say, I forgot the date that McMaster declared the emergency. It was sometime in the middle of March, I believe. So if anybody says a date before the middle of March, that will delay getting benefits, because we'll have to do fact finding and say, okay, why did this person have why is this person's claim before the state of emergency? That would seem to be odd. That would be a red flag. So you can theoretically get benefits before the state of emergency, but our agency would conduct a fact finding and find out, okay, what's going on? Why did this person have a job loss or an income loss due to COVID-19 before the state of emergency? Again, it's certainly possible that happened, but that's going to be a situation we would take a much closer look at, as opposed to somebody who's filing and say, I had the job loss starting in April. Okay, I want to run through, Nick, do I have a few more minutes to run through a couple scenarios? Or
Of course, please.
Okay, so I want to tell you guys the reasons that you might be eligible for PUA. The first one, some of these may apply to you, some of them may not. But the first one is either you or someone in your household has been diagnosed with COVID-19. So that means somebody's tested positive, and because of that, you can't work. So if it's your spouse, you've got to stay home and take care of your spouse, or you've got things to do. You can't work on closings if you've got somebody in your house that's quarantined. So if that is a reason why you're not working, then that's a reason you'd be eligible for PUA. Someone has been diagnosed positive. Another one is you're caring for a family member who's been diagnosed. So that expands it out beyond just the member of your household. We're talking about a family member who's been diagnosed positive and you can't work because you're caring for them. Scenario 3 is the child care scenario. So that is your daycare or your school is closed as a result of COVID-19. And so you're not able to telework, you're not able to make it work out with your spouse or someone else to take care of the kids, and you legitimately cannot work as a result of the child care issue. So normally you would not be eligible for unemployment in that scenario because you're not available for work. So someone with a child care restriction is not able and available to work. So under state UI, you wouldn't get benefits. However, PUA is here and it opens it up. So if you're unable to work or you're unable to, you're unable to work as a result of a child care situation, you've got eligibility. The thing to remember on this one though is for school age children, the limitation, this eligibility window ends when the school year ends. So it's meant to compensate people whose schools are closed as a result of COVID-19, not just the kids are home. So if the kids would already be home as a result of summer break, then they're not going to be eligible. We're only talking about the period of time that cuts across the school year. Scenario 4 is an individual is unable to reach their place of employment. So if this is a part of a stay-at-home order where you're being told your job's non-essential and you're not supposed to be on the road, then that would be a reason for eligibility. Scenario 5 is you can't reach the place of employment because a healthcare provider has advised you to self-quarantine. So this could be somebody who has had an exposure and has been instructed to self-quarantine, or it could be somebody who has a compromised immune system and they're not necessarily sick, but the doctor has told them, hey, you don't need to be out and about right now until this thing blows over. Those folks would be eligible under this PUA program. Scenario 6 is you were scheduled to start employment, but you can't start it because of COVID-19. That's probably not the folks on this call, but that one is pretty self-explanatory. Scenario 7 is, hopefully this isn't anyone on this call either, but it's when the head of the household has died as a result of COVID-19, and then the other individual has now become the sole breadwinner for the family. The reason this one is important is because normally if the person is a stay-at-home parent, they're not going to be eligible for unemployment insurance because they don't have wages in our system. What this does is it says, okay, even though that person is not eligible for state UI, they are eligible under this new PUA program. So that's a benefit there. Scenario 8 is somebody has had to quit their job as a direct result of COVID-19. Scenario 9 is the individual's place of employment is closed as a direct result of COVID-19. So if you have an office and your landlord closes it and says, okay, we're not opening our facilities to the public as a result right now, then that would be an eligibility, potential eligibility there. Now, the last one is the one I want to explain because I think it'll have the most effect for people here, and it's the catch-all. It basically says any other reason that has caused a loss of employment or force you to cease operations as a result of COVID-19. And if you look in our system, that'll be the other. We've used this example with the rideshare drivers. They don't have a place of employment, so it's not like they are closed down. But with the government action right now, it doesn't really make continued work for them very stable. So we're seeing a lot of gig workers filing. And I think that's probably what you guys are seeing as well, is you're not necessarily, your places of employment might not be closed, or maybe they are, but might not be. But at the end of the day, there may not be as many people buying houses because it's just very uncertain right now. People don't want to, be out and about looking at houses, and people are worried about money and everything else. So this kind of falls, luckily there's a catch-all that I think would catch most of the folks on here, and that is you've really had to basically suspend your business until things calm down a little bit. And so that is a way you could be eligible for benefits. So Nick, I think that is, I know that is a mouthful, but I think that's what I have prepared if you want to take us to the next portion of the presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Todd. We do have quite a few questions that have been pre-submitted, so we're going to tackle those first. And if we have some time, I know we've got a bunch of live questions coming in, and I've tried to answer a couple of those as those have come in. But let's tackle these questions, Todd, that were pre-submitted. So our members are having a tough time reaching somebody on the phone at DEW. What's the best way to contact DEW if they have a question about their application or how to fill it out or other concerns?
Yeah, and I am sorry that people have that experience and are having trouble getting through to us. Here's what I can tell you about that. So we have hired more people for our call center. We've actually increased the number of people answering our phones by 856%. We've also expanded our hours. So they used to work 8 to 4. Now they're working 8 to 8 during the week, and then we're going to have people starting this Saturday on the phones this Saturday. So we definitely know people have had trouble calling us, but the volume that we're dealing with right now, there's just quite a lot of people that want to reach us. To give you a little context, so in the worst week of the Great Recession, we had 13,000 initial claims. So back in 2019, or 2009, that's kind of what we were looking at. That was kind of the worst of the worst, was 13,000 claims. The peak for COVID-19 was 87,000 claims. So that gives you kind of a sense of the volume that we're dealing with. It's not even close. And, this is something that came on basically almost overnight. It's certainly within a few weeks where we ramped up from where we were to 87,000 claims. And so there wasn't much warning. There wasn't any warning. So we're doing the best we can to add people to that call center, and we've done that. But we want to do it smartly. We don't want to put people on the call center that can't actually help you. So just bear with us on that. The other things that we've done is we've established a COVID-19 resource hub on our website. It's got information specific to PUA, specific to self-employed folks. It's got a frequently asked questions. It's got a PDF tutorial, and it's got a YouTube link to our YouTube page with a video tutorial for PUA specifically. So between that and our website, and the last thing we've done is we've established a new chatbot feature. It's kind of like what you're used to dealing with when you go to other websites, where you can interact with the website and ask questions, and then you get answers based on the questions you provide. It kind of mines the website for you. So that's another thing you can try if you can't get us on the phone, is see if our resources on the website, and see if that chatbot don't answer your question.
Awesome, thank you. And for all the realtors listening today, please be patient. As Todd said, I know it's a stressful time, but the agency is not immune to the same pressures we're dealing with in with our employees and with staff. It is a difficult time, and we appreciate your being patient as we get through this. So Todd, a couple of questions here. A lot of realtors also hold either another independent contractor type job or even a W-2 employee job. And if, for example, if they're working they're getting two different 1099s, one in real estate, one from another company, and they've the real estate one, the business has fallen off, but they're still getting regular income from their other 1099. Are they still able to apply for PUA, or would they be ineligible?
Yeah, Nick, let me give you the short answer. The short answer is, if you earn more than your weekly benefit amount, your state weekly benefit amount, you're not going to be eligible for any unemployment. So certainly if you earn more than 326, you're not going to be eligible for unemployment, because that is the maximum weekly benefit amount. But not everybody is 326. Some people could be lower. So you have to see, you would have to know based on your past earnings what your weekly benefit amount is. And if you earn more than that, you're not going to be eligible. So I would say, if you have any question at all, go ahead and apply and see if you have eligibility. But if you're like, okay, I've got at least 326 from my other job, I would tell you, don't bother applying, because you're not going to, if you're making more than 326 in a given week, you're not going to be eligible. The other thing to keep in mind is, if you make less than that amount, it gets a little complicated with the math, but any earnings less than your weekly benefit amount will, in most cases, offset your unemployment benefits. Not completely, but it'll reduce them a little bit. You do get to keep the first quarter of your benefit. So if you earn, I'm about to get too much into the math, but basically understand that your weekly benefit amount will almost always be reduced if you have earnings during that week. But the big benefit is, now you get the $600 on top if you even have $1 of eligibility. So even if your state benefits get reduced to $1, you get the $600 on top of that. So that's why I'm saying, if you have any question at all, apply. But I can tell you right now, if you're making 326 or more, you're not going to be eligible.
So how does a realtor calculate their hourly wages when they're typically paid on the commission? Is it 12 months of their income divided by 2,000 hours, or how do they calculate that?
Yeah, so I mean, the math gets a little bit complicated because if you have other wages, like for example, this example where somebody worked two jobs, both of those wages are going to be factored in. Or some people work W-2 jobs and they're a realtor, those wages will factor in. But if you're just talking about somebody who's working on pure commissions, the way the math I believe will work is it's you basically take your earnings and divide it by your quarterly earnings and divide it by 26. So there's 13 weeks in a quarter. We're looking for half of your weekly earnings. So you do the math. You add 13 times 2 is 26, and then you divide your quarterly earnings by 26. That's probably the best way to do it, but there are a lot of variables that go into it. But that's how you ballpark it.
So the goal for our members is to try to determine what their weekly wage is, not necessarily what their hourly wages are.
Correct. Yeah. Weekly is how we look at it.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I know of at least a few realtors that have called me, Todd, that last year in 2019, they had a W-2 job, which they quit to go into real estate. And they started off the year because of the virus being impacted in their business. And now when they've gone to apply for assistance, only the W-2 wages kind of pop up in the system. How do they tell the system that they're applying as a 1099?
So this is a little bit of a specific question, but I think what you should do is you could keep going through the application process with the W-2 wages, because we're showing you having wages in our system, and then when you get through there, you will be denied because you don't have sufficient wages if you in the system because you quit last year, or you may be eligible because you got those wages. Kind of, it depends on how the math works out. So you may actually be eligible for state UI. And if you keep going, if you make it through and you're eligible, then you'll just get paid state unemployment benefits. And to you, it's no different than getting the federal benefits. It'll look the same. It's just which program you're under. But if you're not eligible, then you'll get the option to come back in as apply for the PUA. So it'll say, hey, you're not monetarily eligible, which means you don't have enough wages in our system. And so as a result of that, you'll get that link appearing in your account that says apply for pandemic unemployment assistance. And so you would click on that and you would go through the process that all your peers are going on. So that's kind of the best advice I can give you. If you've got wages from another employer that comes up, just keep going through the system, finish the application, and either you'll be eligible for state or you won't. And if you're not, you apply for the federal program. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. So several members have received an email that said PUA eligibility interview, something to that effect. Can you explain what that is and why they were sent that email?
Right. Yeah. So, well, actually, let me back up on. I want to answer one more piece of that last question. Sorry.
Sure.
So that example was somebody's showing wages in their system when they apply. If you don't have anything in there, like if you truly did not have any W-2 employer, if you're a full-time realtor or either you work for two 1099 jobs, you're not going to have anything that pops up. So when you're going through the state unemployment insurance application, it's just going to say blank. There's going to be no employer there, and you'll have to manually add one. So what you would do there is you would manually add yourself as the employer name, and because there's no wages in there for that employer, you're going to get denied, and that's fine. That's what's supposed to happen. But I've talked to some people who can't get past that screen because there's no employer showing up. What you want to do there is just manually add your company name as a self-employed person, and then you'll move on through the application. You'll get denied, and then you can get the PUA link like I talked about.
They should list their personal name, right? Not their real estate company name.
No, they can list their real estate company name.
Okay. So we were talking about PUA eligibility, the interview email.
Right. So that is going to be, I think, I think what that is referring to is you've gotten the link for apply for the PUA, you've clicked on it, and that's kind of the title of the slide, and that'll ask you questions about your employment. So I think probably where the questions that don't fit, I'm guessing it'll say, because the questions will ask you things like, when was the last time you worked? And I know for real estate agents, you probably are continuing to work, you're just not closing any houses. So what you would want to do is you'd want to, for example, for that question, you'd want to put in the last day that you basically feel like you were compensated for. So if you haven't had a closing all month, then you wouldn't report that you've been working because you haven't been getting compensated for your work. You're basically, you're trying to keep your business going, but you haven't been compensated. So I'm guessing that's what that person is saying, as they're saying that question doesn't really fit. Of course, we're all still working. Well, what you want to do is say, okay, what's the last week that I got paid for my work? And so I think the easiest way to do it would be say, well, if I haven't had any closings in April, then my last closing was in March, assuming that the reason you don't have any closings is because of COVID-19 and not another reason, like nobody's buying houses till the school year's over. But assuming the reason that you're not closing is because of COVID-19, you'd want to enter the date that you last got paid for your work. I'm guessing that's probably what the thing about the questions don't fit well. It's because it's assuming that you were working a week and got paid for that work in that week, where you guys don't get paid like that.
Yeah, I think you're right, Todd. The
Okay.
kind of a follow-up on that, a lot of realtors have received a confirmation that their PUA is pending. Is that something they need to certify weekly, or does that begin retroactively once their PUA is approved?
So that will be retroactive. So if you filed again, when you get to the PUA application, you'll certify when the first week you experienced the job loss, and then it'll be paid retroactive. So
Okay.
yeah.
So a couple of members have had trouble with their Social Security numbers, and they've received a message from the department saying that their identity is questionable under the Social Security Act. What's your best advice on how to handle an issue with Social Security information?
Sure. So and so everyone knows we've gotten this issue a lot. It's kind of caused some confusion with the general public, and I understand why it did. But just so everyone knows, the reason we've got this Social Security validation is so that we don't have an identity theft situation. We don't want somebody coming in using your Social Security number, using your name, using your address to file benefits. So what we do is we verify that a Social Security number is correct with the Social Security Administration every time somebody comes in to apply for benefits. So when you enter that Social Security number in our system, we cross-match it with Social Security Administration and says, okay, that's Todd Timmons' Social Security Administration. He's good to go. But if there's any sort of hiccup, it's not going to let you move forward. And so that's been frustrating for our claimants. But it's kind of our fraud protection measure. It's kind of our last hope at stopping this any kind of scam or anything like that. So how do you get around it? The best thing I can tell you to do is, a lot of times it has to do with your middle name, because everyone's Social Security cards are, so I'm finding out as a result of this, is everyone's Social Security card is a little different. Some have their middle name on it, some don't. Some have a middle initial, some don't. You want to make sure your name appears with the right number, and then the way your middle initial is phrased is the same as it is on your card. Hopefully you still know where your card is. And then you would check, you would re-enter, let's say you put in Todd Stewart Timmons and you didn't get through. I would suggest you take out Stewart and just enter Todd Timmons and click the option for I misspelled my name and try to resubmit it and see if that goes through. And if not that, try Todd S. Timmons, and just try your middle name each different way. We've seen that be the issue more times than not, is the way the middle initial thing is set up just hasn't been working. But if you still got an SSA validation issue, I know it might be a little frustrating, but you don't need to call. You don't need to. It will resolve itself eventually. If you're able to get through the application, you finish the whole thing and it says SSA validation pending, that issue will take care of itself. You don't need to call us. But it will say when you get to the end of your claims application, it'll look like a little red flag there. That's okay. It'll resolve itself, so you don't need to call us for that. But I'm hoping this issue, we've been working with Social Security Administration very closely because there were some hiccups on their end of the equation. And I think we've resolved most of these. But if you're still having problems and you can't get past that screen, you can also upload your Social Security card, and that'll come through as a work item. And so when somebody sees that, then they can release the issue on your claim. Again, I hate that it's not immediate, but we can't just turn the feature off because otherwise we'll have some fraud on our hands.
Hey, something you said just triggered a thought. Is there a best time of day to go on the website that might have less traffic? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Monday is always our busiest day for filing of claims and for calls. Sunday is also a busy day for the system because everyone's coming in there and certifying their weekly claim. So also another reminder and pointer to make sure you certify your claim weekly. Unemployment is a weekly benefit, so you're going to have to come in each week and still certify you've had the employment loss and et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you come in every Sunday and certify the prior week. But anyways, yes. So the answer to your question is yes. However, we've really upped the capacity of our system. I don't think you're going to have the problem with our website that people were experiencing early in this process. It seems like that I haven't been hearing very much about the website being slow or crashing recently. So I hope that we have taken care of that issue. But yes, if you're in off hours or not Monday or Sunday, usually Friday or Saturday are the slowest days if you want to look for a period where the website might be a little quicker.
Okay, thanks. A couple of questions have come inside regarding Social Security. If you are receiving Social Security benefits or even military retirement benefits, does that make you ineligible for um, unemployment assistance?
Social Security, no, that's not. You don't need to report that to us as earnings. That will not affect your benefits. For military retirement, in most cases, no. The only exception would be if you've had a separation from the military recently, there could be an effect on there, like within the last 2 or 3 years. If your military pension is older than that, it won't have an effect on your benefits.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you. So let's tackle a few more questions here. We've got a few
But
more
you do need
minutes.
to report the pension. So if you are receiving a military pension, even if it's an older one of the questions on the application will be, did you receive a pension? You would just say yes and then fill out the information there. But it shouldn't affect your benefits unless you've separated really recently.
Okay. So I think we already answered this question. We talked about, when is the date you consider yourself unemployed, and I think if we go back to the last closing that the realtor had, I think that would work in most cases. And when you're providing additional information, this comes up a lot, and we've been advising members to use. Because when they're asked what's the name of their employer, since they're independent contractors, we're telling them to use their name or the name they use when they file their taxes. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be fine. That's fine. Mm-hmm.
And as far as any phone numbers, they can list a personal cell phone or their personal number. They shouldn't be using their company office line, correct?
Whatever phone number that they want to be. Yeah, I mean, I don't think to me, I haven't heard anything that would say it matters which phone number. You probably want to use a good contact information. So if nobody's at the office line, you might want to use your personal one. But I haven't heard anything that would say a cell phone is a problem.
Okay. So say a realtor does have a closing and receives a commission check next week. How would they, what would be their obligation? Do they need to report that to the department, and how would that impact their benefits?
Yeah, so let me that's a good question. Let me explain how that would work. So like you said, I know you guys are paid a little differently. You're not, just because you have a closing in this week, you're not going to say, okay, maybe I worked on that a while ago. But for purposes of unemployment insurance, and to not overthink it, I would just say if you've got a closing this week, then when you go in to certify, if you know it's over 326, you don't even need to bother certifying your week because you know you're not going to get paid. But if you do go in and certify, you need to report those earnings and say, okay, this week I earned this amount, knowing it's going to disqualify you. But that's how that would work. Because if we find out later, okay, this person had earnings in that week that they got unemployment, you're going to be what we call overpaid benefits, and then we would ask for that money back. So any week, I would say any week that you're having earnings, either from a second job or from a closing, you need to report that when you do your weekly certification, or not certified that week at all, so that you don't get overpaid. Another thing, when you go through the PUA process, it's going to ask you those scenarios that I went through. It's going to give you all those scenarios, and it's going to say select one. You may be affected by one of those scenarios in terms of being advised by a medical provider to stay home or have a child care issue, and if so, click one of those. Use that option as the reason that you're not able to work. But if your reason you're not able to work is the other, there's an option for other, and then you would just write in there, had to suspend operations because of no closings or something like that. And then one of our staff will look at it. But if you have another reason, you can use one of those other reasons as well.
So are state unemployment benefits taxable?
They are. Yep.
And the
so
PUA?
Yes, PUA as well. So you'll have the option to select whether you want taxes withheld or not. If not, if you don't have them withheld, you'll pay them at the end of the year.
This is kind of several questions have come in live on this, Todd. Can you explain the weekly certification process? How does that work?
Right. So you'll go in each Sunday and you'll be asked a series of questions, and then you just click the answers to those questions, and then like one of them will be reporting your earnings, pension, things like that. It's just a weekly certification process. It's not like a whole new application. It's just these questions you have to answer each week. Another one that we get a lot is about searching for work. So it is true that the work search requirement has been waived, meaning you don't have to come into our system and do 2 searches for work. But there are links where you would register for work, and they'll ask you questions whether you're willing to comply with the work search requirement. Those questions are not going to disqualify you right now, but I would really encourage the folks on the line to go ahead and say yes, I'll search for work, and to register in our system for benefits, because at a certain point in time, particularly when the state of emergency is over, we're probably going to turn the work search requirement back on, or at least its potential. So I don't want you to get in the habit of just saying no, and then all of a sudden, we'll give you plenty of notice, but I know you're getting a lot of email and mail otherwise. But it might just be good to go ahead and register, get yourself in the habit of saying, okay, this system's out there, and if in 12 weeks starting to require the work search again, you're not totally out of the loop and confused as to what the requirement is.
Thank you for that advice. How many weeks are state benefits and PUA benefits available? I think you answered that, but can you repeat that for us one more time?
Yeah, it'd be 39 total, but again, you're going to be limited to periods where you've had a COVID-19 or had a lack of work as a direct result of COVID-19. So it's not just an automatic 39. It's which weeks do you not have any income.
So Todd, is there if a realtor makes a mistake on their on the DEW website, for example, listing their brokerage as their employer, and they've received a notification that they weren't recognized under that employer name, is there a way to go back in and fix that, or do they need to reapply?
So I think this is going to be one of those that's kind of person specific, but I would encourage you to go back in the system and see if the apply for pandemic unemployment assistance button is available to you, or link is available to you. And then if so, click on it and go through it. If you put in an incorrect employer, I think what would happen is if you finish your application, then you would just be ineligible because we don't have wages for you, and then you could get the PUA link. So try that.
Okay. Going back to that last question, a thought just came to my mind when we talk about searching for employment. Because of the nature of our realtor members, they're not necessarily shopping there to go to another real estate firm. They're shopping for clients in their markets. So just something to keep in mind as we go forward on that. So a realtor applied a few weeks ago, was denied. Do they need to reapply? What's your advice there?
Yep, then they'll come back in and click the PUA link, like I mentioned, Now if it was back in first quarter, so if it was well, I think I said that. Well, anyway, you may have to start a new application if it was a really long time ago, but I'm thinking most of the folks that got in the last few weeks, if you've applied then, we should have captured you and you should have gotten the new link. But if you're not seeing the link, you may have to start a new application.
Okay. So if you're not seeing the PUA link, chances are you'll need to reapply. So thanks for that. A realtor needs to change their password and username on the SCDEW website, and I guess they're asking how can I get some help to get that done? Is there an easy way to do that? Is there a change my password link or something like that on the website?
Yeah, there is. There's a forgot username and then there's a forgot password. You can fix either one. Now, the
Great.
only reason that you'll have to call us is if you don't have the original email address you have. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but we've seen a lot of people who have either created an email address just for this application, or either they had, maybe they applied 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and then they didn't save that email address from when they were unemployed in a previous time. If you don't have your email address, you're not going to be able to reset your username and password. That's the reason you'll have to call us. But the other one would be if you forgot your security questions. So the biggest tips I could provide you guys in terms of that is just please make sure you write down your email address, your username, your password, and then the answers to security questions. Because if you can't answer your security questions, that's going to mean time on the phone with us to get that straightened out.
Thank you. Do you have any concerns, Todd? I know, and you don't have to answer this if you can't, but are you concerned that the SCDEW bank account might get exhausted with all of the folks that are seeking assistance?
You know what, Nick? I don't have any problem answering it. So eventually, if this keeps up, yes. But the thing to keep in mind is that the benefits we're talking about today are 100% federally funded. So even that we calculate the weekly benefit amount based on the state formula, but even that is going to be paid with federal dollars. And then the $600 extra is going to be paid with federal money. So a lot of this is not going to affect our trust fund, but it will eventually deplete because the regular W-2 employees who are filing at unprecedented rates, if this continues into the summer and into July and August, we're going to get to the point where our trust fund is going to, it could potentially have a big impact. At that point, I mean, it's not like we'll turn the benefits off. We have options of borrowing with the federal government, but to answer your question is if we don't get any relief in a few months, that's going to be the next question for us to answer.
Gotcha. Thank you. Can we cover one more time? I've gotten a ton of questions of how you calculate your income as a realtor. And in many cases, our realtors haven't filed their 2019 taxes yet.
Yeah.
So can you cover that one more time?
Yeah. So and we don't have to have your taxes. So like I said, if you have anything showing your income over the prior year, that's going to be what we're looking for. So bank receipts, business bank accounts, business records, any kind of billing statements or invoices that would show. I'm guessing for you guys, maybe it's the closing documents or something simple that would show how many closings you've had in the last year, so that we can come up with a weekly amount.
Great, thank you. So a couple of members have called me, Todd, and were concerned. They think they were getting the $600 PUA payment, but instead they were getting a much smaller amount. And I'm assuming that was the state benefit portion. There is no, I mean, either you qualify for the 600 or you don't. That doesn't get cut or drawn down in any way, does it?
Right. Yeah. And if that happened, that must be something specific to their claim. So your weekly benefit amount, the state portion might be affected if you've had wages, if you've had earnings for that week. That might reduce that amount, so you could see a smaller number than what your normally weekly benefit amount. But you should have $600 on top of whatever that number is. So I'm not exactly sure unless you've got like a child support intercept or uh, an offset for maybe you were overpaid at our agency before and you owed us that money back. That could be a reason, but I'm not quite sure without looking at the specific claim what's going on there.
Okay. I had one realtor who sent me a question. He received a total of approximately $740 in benefits, and after all of the taxes, the the math didn't add up. The the total taxes minus his total benefits should have been about $40 more, and he's trying to figure out where that $40 went. I'll send that to you privately and
Yeah,
see.
the way the taxes work is it should be 17%, 10% federal, 7% state. So if there's something coming off with that, we can take a look, but that's the general rule if you've selected to have taxes withheld.
Okay. And if um, so, I had another realtor. We've got a few more minutes here. Sorry to we've got a ton of questions. We're not going to be able to get to all of them today, folks. If you're a husband and wife real estate team, um, can you apply separately, or do you have to file? Or is it even possible to file jointly for unemployment?
Yeah, you definitely can't file jointly.
Okay.
So um, that is a good question. I'm not exactly sure how um, I'm not exactly sure how we calculate your weekly benefit amount. But if you don't have any earnings, you certainly would get the minimum amount plus the $600. I'm just not exactly sure how the math is going to come out based on the paperwork. Kind of sitting here on the spot. But you're
So
certainly eligible like anybody else. You just can't apply jointly. You have to apply separately.
So if a realtor qualifies for the state portion of the unemployment, um, the 320, what is $323?
326 is the max. It's the max.
326, the
But
max.
what most people, Nick, just to make sure, what most people will see is they will see the minimum to start with until they submit their documentation of their income. They'll immediately start with the minimum and then go up from there.
Gotcha. Okay, well that explains that. Um, and let's see, we have time for just a couple more. Um, So one realtor has checked his benefits on the due website, and he says that they are being held, stating additional information is needed. One, it says interview corporate officer, and the other one says PUA eligibility pending. What is the interview corporate officer?
The corporate officer, it must have somewhere in the application he must have indicated he was the like a corporate officer or president, vice president of the company. So maybe there's some situation there with somebody filing as a S corporation, or that's kind of what's popping in my mind. I don't know if that person just applied. I might give it a few days and see if those issues resolve themselves. Without being able to see it, I'm not sure. But I wouldn't go ahead and immediately think something is wrong. A lot of times you'll have pending issues. If you just give it a few days, it might resolve itself.
Okay. Several realtors in the chat box have trouble with the system accepting their address. Is
Yeah,
any recommendations for that?
yeah. I'm thinking this might be the city. Some people have had trouble on our website finding where to enter the city. You have to select it from the drop down box, and it's kind of like a tiny magnifying glass that's right around there. If you click on the magnifying glass, it should give you a drop down where you can like enter in the city. I know that's where people have kind of gotten tripped up with the address. Is trying to find that drop down box.
Okay, let's tackle one more here. Let me go through the list. We've got a ton of questions.
All right, we'll pick out an easy one.
So this is a common question. realtor says, I have not had a closing since September 2019. I'm assuming they don't have other employment or other income coming in. Do they qualify for benefits during COVID? Obviously, the slowdown they had in November, December, January weren't impacted by COVID. What would be their claim for benefits now, Todd?
Right. So the short answer is, to get benefits, your unemployment has to be the direct result of COVID. So if you can't honestly say, hey, I'm out of work because of COVID, then you're not going to be eligible. So you'll be asked during that application process, and the statement is, if you answer it falsely, that is fraud. So you will be asked, hey, is the reason you're out of work, is it for a COVID reason? If so, which one of the reasons it is? So as long as you can answer those questions honestly, that you're out of work because of COVID, you should still be eligible. It doesn't matter that you haven't had a closing in the past, but if you're just coming in, you wouldn't have had a closing anyways, then it's not because of COVID. It's just because whatever the business model is not working.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Todd, we may have to do this again. We've got a ton of questions for all the realtors that do have questions that did not get answered today. This program is being recorded, and we'll be posting it on our YouTube channel and other media outlets a little bit later this afternoon. I've posted the email addresses for our legal hotline, Byron at screaltors.org and Austin at screaltors.org. Please email your unanswered questions to our legal staff. And if we can't answer them, I'm betting that Todd will be able to help us. And I hope that all of you at home that are watching this live, please do a virtual round of applause for Todd, and keep him and his team in your prayers as they deal with the literally tens of thousands of applications and requests. And I can't imagine the calls and the questions that they're getting. So please be patient. Forward us the information, the questions that you have. We'll do our best to get you the help that you need, and we'll continue to our great partnership with SCDEW, and appreciate all that y'all are doing. Todd, any closing remarks?
No, I appreciate that, Nick. I mean, keep us in your thoughts and prayers, because we want to help as many people as we can. We know you guys are hurting, and we know that every industry's hurting. So we're doing the best we can to help you guys, helping you all safely, so we don't get all of our employees around one another in a call center or something. So it's tough, but I just want y'all to know we're here for you, and we're getting our benefits out as fast as we can.
Awesome. Todd, thank you. Thank you very much. All the realtors, thank you on the call. Have a great afternoon, and you'll be hearing from us soon. We'll be in touch. Thank you.